Okay. Okay, so yes, I'm Kobe. I'm going to talk to you in English. I speak un poco de castellano, but not enough to talk in this beautiful university in Santiago. I would feel a bit dumb. I'm first of all very, very happy of all the effort that went into Ngelemen. I'm grateful to Rodolfo, of course, to invite us here. To everybody who's part of this. We've been around for the last few days. Yesterday we went to Valdivia, which was, to me, I was like a kid, you know. We went with Don Pascual, which is the Mapuche, I call him Indian or chief or whatever, and he showed us this produce, these berries, these leaves, these flowers, and then we went to the beach and we picked this fucking amazing seaweed, like this. It looks like snakes swimming in the water and things that you never see. You feel like a kid, and I think that's very important. When you deal with food, you have to always feel like a kid, and that is gonna help you to love it. And I think that's also a bit the name of the speech, is to adapt, create, evolve. So I come here, I come to Chile, I see all these produce. I get all this inspiration, so I adapt to where I am, I create, and I will evolve myself as a chef and as a human. So I didn't really prepare a speech. It's not because I'm lazy, it's just because I'm not good at it. And if I would write something down, then I would afterwards think, oh shit, I didn't say this, I should have said that. So what we're going to do is we're going to make it, we're going to wake you up a little bit. It's still early, but so I think, I mean, probably not a lot of people know me or my restaurant or Belgium, maybe. But I suggest that somebody comes up with a question, and then I reply, and then we have a conversation together. How about that? I see any hands in the air if you have something to ask me. It's early, I know. Yeah.
Okay, I have a question.
Okay.
I have a question. How come you are a fantastic chef? Everybody knows now where Dranuter is because of your restaurant, and you have decided at the highest of your career to close down and change life.
So yes, we are closing. The In the Wolf is closing now in December after 12 years of In the Wolf, which does not take away all my ambition, aspirations, philosophy around food. We will keep on growing, keep on evolving. But I think it's always nice in life not to put yourself in a corner. And I've been doing this for this restaurant. I've grew up there, the place where I grew up. I still live there. I have another house in a small village. But after 12 years, I feel like there's the frame is not corresponding anymore with what I want to bring or tell. And if you feel that in a certain way, I think it's in any profession like that. If you feel like the frame doesn't correspond anymore, then you have to change the frame. And then you have a new energy, and you can just start over again. And that's a lot of fun. Starting over is always fun.
But what's wrong with the frame? Is it fine dining that you don't feel keen on anymore?
So the question of Andrea is, what's wrong with the frame of this restaurant? There's nothing wrong with the frame. It's just that I don't feel comfortable in it anymore. I always feel like I said, when we started up in the Wolf, I was alone in the kitchen. Then we were 2, 3, 4 people. We grew, and now I think we're at the point with the restaurant where everything that I ever imagined that could happen has happened. And so there's a stop point. There's a point of where I say, okay, this is done. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful machine that you create. It's like an artist that makes an installation, and all of a sudden you build on it, you change it, and after 12 years, you say, that's it. Let's not touch it anymore. It's like with food. It's like when I told Rodolfo yesterday, we were in the restaurant here in Santiago at Borajo, and we had these dishes. that if you close your eyes, and you're like, oh man, where the fuck am I? These flavors that we don't know. It is beautiful. It's what food is about. It's the identity. And also told them what's the most important thing is that when you make a dish, when you cook, is to know when to stop. And that's something that when you're younger, it's hard to comprehend, because you always want to show everything you can do and every technique, and you want to tick, 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 tick. But the most important thing in cooking is knowing when to stop, and then you create an everlasting memory with your food. If you make it too complex, you lose the memory. Then it's Instagram food. But to do something, well, that's the truth. To do something that's specific, and I'm just gonna keep rubbing it on you. And Rodolfo had a great meal there. It was, but just the balance is so important, and I think to know when to stop is important in life in general. Yeah.
Good morning, Kobe.
Good morning.
Two questions. First, in the same line, you're saying that you're sort of trying to start a new way of showing your work, which is putting on the first line, bringing new products. How you do it to bring these products to normal people that they're not able to go to Borago or your restaurant? And in the second way, how you sort of put on value all these new ingredients, which for more people in regions are quite common. In order that Mapuche guy that you knew, that's the common culture of these people. But in the cities, we forgot how to use this. Maybe we didn't forgot. We were not able to learn nothing about this. How you think which is the major responsibility of cooks as you?
Well, I think as the minister pointed out, I think that's what you said. My Spanish is not that good, but I think it's very important to realize that we as chefs, we are just intermediary. We're just in between. We're between the grower and the consumer. And we are translating his work in a different way to the consumer. We make it exciting, or we do something with it. And we really put those people in value, because we work with them every day. These farmers, these growers, these fishermen, everybody. And so we really see that work. But obviously, the other side, the person sitting there eating, he doesn't see that work. He sees our work. So we get all the credits, basically. That's a bit what's wrong with it. But I think there's a big notion of, there's a big disconnect between everybody, between people who eat every day, and where their food comes from. So events like this are something that's really important, because they can plant a seed, and that seed can grow into something more. It draws attention to a certain team, and then it can grow. It's like what I do in Ranouter now. We're organizing a farmers festival, because the public knows the farmers. They see them on television when they're angry. So farmers, when they're angry, they go on the streets. They spray manure on the streets, and they spill milk around when they're angry. And nobody understands them. They say, oh, those fucking farmers are nagging again. They have problems, whatever. We all have problems. But they don't realize that their food, their everyday food, comes from these people. And every farmer is underpaid. We lost in Belgium, in Flanders alone, over 10 years, we lost 45% of the farmers. So that's something that nobody realizes, but it's drastic. So what you have, if you have agro-industry, is taking over all those small farms and creates this massive, huge machine that provides us with food, which is grown in not a good way, in a purely commercial way. So I think it's important to highlight those farmers every day, again and again, because they're the real rock stars here. Yeah? So if that answers your question a bit. No? You're happy?
No, because I'm not happy, because there's people in between the farmers and you, the chefs, which are sort of the rock stars, which you have the importance to communicate. But in between you have a critical mass of people that they're not farmers, they're not able to pay these tickets in the restaurants.
No, they don't need to come to my restaurant.
No, I mean, how you make, because maybe it's a little bit different between Belgium and Santiago, how you make it these people which are the most in need because we don't have just a need to help the people in the farms, we also have the need to help the people in the cities to help them to eat better.
Yeah.
Which is the compromise in that sense? How we can commit in this compromise?
Well, see, I'm not, you have people from the government here, and
I
can talk about.
I mean, in your terms, because I think the cooks have this responsibility. As you said, you are the big communicators in food.
Yeah, and I think that's what we also do, and like what I do is also with the farm festival is to invite people. We do a free festival. It costs nothing. Everything is for free. People are invited, and they come and see how farmers work, how they live. We bring thousands of people together in this small village underneath the church tower to bring people together. And I think that's what food has always done for us. It's always brought people together. So that's what we lost, because we gave away the responsibility of cooking our food to major corporations and stuff like that. So that's where we lost the complete connection with who makes our food, where does it come from, and we are living in a little bubble that we just need it's a financial, it's just something we buy basically, and it shouldn't be like that. Everybody should be able to grow some kind of food himself, even if it's here in the city of Santiago. You should at least connect to what growing food is. That's important. Is that better? Anybody else?
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
My question is aimed at the development process. Like, how do you guys figure out which elements or which ingredients in the environment you're in are actually edible? Like, how do you figure out
Well, there's people like, Juliana, right? Juliana, that just, because yesterday we were picking in Valdivia, I picked this beautiful mushroom off a tree. Well, what I would find it in my home country, I would call it dryad saddle. It's quite delicious if you cook it right. And then now I got to find out this morning that I should not eat it because it's poisonous. So it's important. It's important to have a multitude of people. Definitely when we discover new ingredients, which are per definition maybe the oldest ingredients, that we have a scientific base and somebody along that line that helps us out and say, like a mycologist or somebody who's into herbs that knows, okay, can define what can you eat and what can't you eat. So that's all part of that chain, I think, and it's a collaboration with a lot of people. Yeah. Go ahead.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
When do you think the major tipping point happens in a food culture, that it goes from something that we are talking about in restaurants and not arriving to everybody to becoming sort of like we saw in Peru, that home cooks, there's a pride on a national level? I mean, what have you experienced in Belgium, perhaps, in seeing how this movement really happens across all classes, all people, all professions?
I think any movement, any revolution starts from discontent, right? When people are no longer happy with the food they get, or they start realizing that certain foods they're having now are creating cancers or diseases, and then you create a discontent. Then people start asking questions. When they start asking questions, then they need answers, obviously. And then something can start to grow. But I think it needs to be, because we are definitely in food and marketing, there's such a smoke screen being held up for you, that everything that you see is beautiful and it comes from this field, and this farmer with his little baby goat made you this beautiful cheese. It's all bullshit. And I think that's what you need to show, that you have to see through the smoke curtain and then just realize where your food comes from. I think like in supermarkets, you should have a little video screen that shows this, not this farm, but this factory made this cheese. And it's not even cheese, it's something else. Be honest about whatever is in there, and then let people decide for themselves where their heart is going to lead them. It's not going to be to the factory cheese, I guess, right? Yeah.
Ok, tenemos espacio para una pregunta más. ¿Una pregunta? ¿Sí? ¿Verónica?
Well, I don't have a question. I just want to thank you. I want to congratulate you for what you think, how you think. You've answered many of the things that troubled me, and you come from further beyond because you are already in the developed world. We are developing. So thank you so much. Say this here once and again in all the languages you can. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kobe.
Kobe, good morning.
Good morning.
What is the role of the schools that today are forming the future chefs to be able to fit into this revolution?
Well, I have this personal opinion, but I never went to cooking school myself. I went to a lot of schools. I went to about 10 schools, and then I dropped out and I wanted to become a chef. So I can't really talk about my personal experience. What I do see is that students coming from schools, from culinary schools in Belgium, are not really on the track that I would like them to be when they come into my kitchen, because it seems like they've been invited to cook and it has to have a certain sexiness from day one. Well, cooking is not sexy from day one. It's a long process of learning skills. What I think personally is that the culinary school should, for the first 3 years, should focus on farming, on fishing, on butchering, all the skills that are needed, and then you can pick one. I mean, after 3 years, you said, oh, I really like the farming part. I really like those potatoes and the things that we grew in the fields next to the school. Or, man, I was in love with that fishing. Like, we went fishing on the boat. So rather than just straight away saying, okay, this is going to be a chef school, you should make it more broader and make a food school. And from that food school out, then you can create new crafts and ambitions and chefs or farmers, but they're all on the same page, you know. They have the same education, the basics is the same. They have a respect, and then they can grow into something different. I think that's important, yeah.